and the Grinch stole Christmas.
Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch who lived just north of Whoville did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason.
It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight.
But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small.
Whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos.
They're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow it's Christmas, it's practically here.
Then he growled with his Grinch fingers, nervously drumming.
I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming.
For tomorrow he knew all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early, they'd rush for their toys. Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to a feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast.
And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small,
would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing.
They'd stand hand in hand and the Whos would start singing.
And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing,
the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing.
Why, for 50 years I've put up with this now. I must stop this Christmas from coming, but how? Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea.
I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat. And he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat.
And he chuckled and clucked, what a great Grinchy trick. With his hat and this coat, I look just like St. Nick.
All I need is a reindeer, the Grinch looked around. But since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found.
Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said. If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead.
So he called his dog Max, then he got some red bread.
And he tied a big horn on top of his head.
Then the Grinch said, get up, and sleigh started down towards the homes where the Whos lay, a snooze in their town.
All their windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the Whos were all dreaming, sweet dreams without care.
When he came to the first little house on the square, this is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fists.
Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch.
The little Who stockings all hung in a row.
These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go.
Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant. Around the whole room, he took every present.
Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee.
And now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who, Cindy Lou who was not nearly 2.
The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick.
Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side.
So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here. And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head.
And he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. Then he did the same thing to the other Whos houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Whos mouses.
3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his sleigh to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Whos, he was grinchiously humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming.
They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two, and all the Whos down in Whoville will cry boo-hoo.
That's a noise, grinned the Grinch.
I simply must hear.
So he paused.
And the Grinch put his hand to his ear.
And he did hear a sound rising over the snow.
And it started in low, and it started to grow.
Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and small, was singing without any presents at all.
He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming, it came. Somehow or other, it came just the same.
And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so?
It came with that ribbons, it came with that tags, it came with that packages, boxes or bags.
And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before.
Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more.
And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day.
And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his bags through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. However you're celebrating this holiday, and whatever you're eating, be it roast beast, turkey, or a vegan alternative, I hope you have a lovely time, and remember that the most important thing is not the food or the presents, but who you spend the time with. A very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone in the Armadale Academy community.